Hi, my name's Frank Turner. I'm a singer.
You're not as messed up as you think you are. Your self-absorption makes you messier. Just settle down and you would feel a whole lot better deep down. You're just like...
You're on the 15th day of the tour now.
Yep.
So it's been a very long tour. How has it been for you?
It's been great. I mean, the whole sort of motivation behind this particular tour for me was to kind of try and sort of show people that I'm going to continue touring the UK properly. By which I mean, like, you know, some bands, and I have done them myself. You do those tours where it's just like Manchester, London, Birmingham, Glasgow sort of thing, you know, and they call it a UK tour. And then indeed earlier this year I did the Wembley show, which was just one gig in London in an arena. And I think some people were kind of worried that I was going to, stop doing proper tours. And so my response to that was to do the longest, most regional UK tour I could do. And you know, we're going everywhere from Truro to Margate to Inverness to Dublin, which is obviously isn't in the UK. I know that. You know, exactly. You know, and just kind of and it's been really fun actually. Just kind of like going out and going to places that I haven't been to in years. You know.
Yeah, so obviously you're a local boy from Manchester, you say. Do you think playing here will sort of affect your performance, or?
A little, yeah. I mean, I feel. It's funny though, actually, I was talking to somebody about this. On the one hand, yeah, this is definitely the hometown show on the tour, and I feel much more kind of comfortable and at home and in my neck of the woods around here. You know, and I used to come to shows here when I was a kid growing up and everything. And all the rest of it. At the same time, there was a tiny bit of me that, like, when I was a kid, we used to get a train out from Winchester or whatever, and the Southampton kids would always be slightly snooty about the Winchester kids, you know, and we thought they were kind of like pretentious or whatever, and there was a bit of a kind of friction there. So, well, I do feel at home, if I really get specific about it, it's like, fucking Southampton. I'm a Winchester boy.
Yeah. So before, obviously, you played Wembley, you played a big show at the Olympics.
Yes.
What was that like?
It was very odd. I mean, it was great to do. I'm very glad I did it and all that, but as an actual experience, it was deeply surreal. I mean, it wasn't very connected to anything else I do in my life, if you see what I mean. And then the actual thing, I mean, we were in this giant stadium filled with fake hills and chimneys and Harry Potter cast stuff and people dressed as ninjas, and it was just, it was a very strange experience all around. But yeah, definitely good to do. I mean, I believe in saying yes to things anyway, you know, so when the call came through, it was just like, who wants to be the old man in the pub telling the story about the time when they nearly played the Olympics? It's a crap story, do you know what I mean? I'd rather tell the story about the time I did.
So what was sort of like the sound like and stuff like that?
Oh, it was fine. I mean, we did a ton of prep for it. We got asked about 6 weeks before the event to be involved, and Danny Boyle was amazing and said he was a fan of my music and all this kind of thing, so that was great. But I mean, we did a really quite insanely large amount of technical preparation for it, so we had it was all kind of set up well. Yeah.
So you've recently recorded your 5th album.
Yes.
How do you think that differs from your others?
Well, part of me wants to say, I guess we'll see, because I mean, it isn't mixed yet, is one thing, and secondly, I always feel like I'm the worst person to answer that question because I'm way too close to it. Do you know what I mean? To me, on one hand, everything just sounds like my songs, and on the other hand, everything sounds radically different from each other because they're just like that in my brain. I think that musically it's a kind of bigger record, bigger sounding. I can't really quantify that any more than that, but like, it's just kind of... we worked with a producer called Rich Costy, who is an amazing guy who has made a lot of amazing records, and I wanted to make something that kind of felt more like a jamboree than a record to me, something like that. And then lyrically it's a lot more kind of raw and exposed and personal than anything I've done before, partly because that's where I'm at in my life right now, and partly because I feel like the reason why a lot of bands get kind of dull as they go on is that they get too self-conscious about what they're doing. Do you know what I mean? Start trying to kind of second guess their own creativity. And I don't want to do that, obviously. So I decided that the thing to do would be to just push myself to do the most kind of like viscerally personal thing that I could do for a record, which I've done, and which I'm now terrified of releasing to the public, but I guess we'll see how that goes.
You recorded it in America.
Yeah.
A lot of artists say when they sort of do that, it sort of changes the way they do it, or it sort of Americanises it? Do you think that's...
Yeah, well, hopefully not. I mean, when the idea of recording in the States came up, I was initially very opposed to the idea for that precise reason. And I mean, and also because, you know, for me, Englishness is an important part of what I do. Excuse me. Excuse me. You know, and my music is self-consciously English. It's meant to sound that way. I don't want to stop sounding that way. But I wanted to work with Rich Costey, and that's where he works, so I went over. Also, I mean, the other thing as well is, just to kind of slightly head off some of the criticism that I know that somebody somewhat will level at the new album. Yes, it sounds different from the stuff I'd done before, of course it does, that's the point. I'm not trying to remake the records I've done before. You know, it's like that thing, just every now and again I'll run into an old friend who will then like level the accusation at me, oh, you've changed, to which I go, yes, that's the point, that's what we're trying to do here, isn't it? Who wants to be the same person they were when they were 16 for the rest of their life? Yeah. You know, and it's like, oh, you know, I prefer your first album. Cool, go listen to that one then. I'm not going to make it again. What's the point in that?
It's already been done.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and hopefully, and having said that, obviously I hope that people will like the record. I personally think it's really fucking good, but people are more than welcome to disagree with that.
That's their opinions. You had a side project called
Monglewood, although I went through this thing of telling everyone it was called Monglehood, just to kind of be difficult.
And that's sort of quite a hardcore band.
Yeah, kind of noise rock sort of thing.
What sort of pushed you to do something like that?
It was kind of in the back of my mind to do something like that for a while. I mean, you know, I came up playing in bands like that, you know, with Million Dead and other bands I played in around that time, and you know, I have a very large streak in my taste in music is for kind of noisy, screamy, shouty, you know, evil guitar music, and so there's that, you know, and then also the guy who played drums in Monglewood was the guy who played drums in Million Dead, and he's a very, very close friend of mine. We played together for many years. I mean, we played together between the ages of 11 and 23 without a break, you know, and I just wanted to play with him again, and it was really, really good fun. It was really kind of liberating, actually, in a way, to just kind of, because the thing is, I think about every detail of everything of what I do now. I spent ages agonising over every decision. The thing that was fun about Monglewood was just kind of go fuck it, you know. A lot of the lyrics are the first things that came into my head when we were writing the songs, you know, and it was quite liberating to actually kind of approach music that way for once.
Yeah, fair enough. So a while ago, quite a while ago, you had a song called Fat to Fuck the Kids.
Yeah.
Are you a political person? That's all.
Yeah, I mean, in the sense that, well, hold on, let me think about that. I mean, there's an extent to which everybody is, you know. I mean, I certainly have some interest in politics and some opinions about it. That song was on the very first EP I did, and Million Dead, the band I was in before, was quite an actively political band, certainly in terms of the lyrics. Since that time, and I mean, that was 7 years ago, you know, since that time I have consciously made the decision to separate politics and music for myself, for a number of reasons, partly because politics is by definition divisive, and I want to make music that's inclusive, and I hate the idea of people not coming to my shows because they don't like my politics, or indeed coming to my shows when they don't like my music, but they do like my politics. That seems redundant to me. Do you know what I mean? It's just, I don't want that to be an influence on what I do, and also because, you know, to be blunt, I've been burned, particularly this year, like in public on political issues, of people just kind of like, the problem with politics is that it's not. Unfortunately, the yardstick is not intelligence. The people who shout loudest are generally not the most analytical thinkers out there, should we put it that way. And you know, and it becomes this kind of quite sort of fraught slanging match, in my opinion. And there are some people who relish that and who are very good at negotiating that and all the rest of it. I'm not one of them, and I just have no interest in being inundated with sort of Twitter hate mobs and that kind of thing because somebody somewhere misinterpreted something I said. You know, I've just got better things to do with my time. So these days, I mean, that song is not one. I haven't played that song since 2007, and I won't again. And it's just not something I'm interested in, really.
Let it go.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? And it's just, and the thing is, of course, some people's response to that is kind of, oh, that's weak, that's selling out, and all this kind of thing. And it's kind of like, fucking whatever, you know, like, and it's just, I just don't want to be a political singer. It just holds no interest in me whatsoever.
Yeah, that's fair enough. If you weren't a musician, what do you think, or what do you like to think you'd be doing instead?
Well, I'd probably be trying to be one is the first thing, but I know that's not quite the spirit in which the question's asked. I think I would probably be a history teacher, because I'm a real nerd for history, and I like them doing kind of like an A-level history teacher. That's the kind of level I like.
What's your favourite time in history?
Ooh, what a question. I mean, at university I studied Central Europe in the first half of the 20th century, but I've recently acquired learning interests in lots of other periods, like particularly the American West actually is something that I find endlessly fascinating. But then, I don't know, who knows? All over, yeah, everywhere.
All of it.
Yeah, all of it, man.
So obviously you've had a few albums. What is your favourite track out of all of them to play live?
Okay, to play live. Okay, there we go. But I mean, it's difficult. It changes, and I mean it's difficult to pick just one. I mean, the one thing I will say is that I'm very conscious of the fact that when I'm playing a gig, my job description first and foremost is that I'm an entertainer. My job tonight is to make sure that everybody's bought a ticket, has a great time. It's not to, that stands before everything else. So, and I like, for me, a way of doing that is audience participation and getting everybody involved and trying to break down the barrier between the crowd and the audience. All of this is a really long-winded way to say, a way of saying that I like sing-alongs. But yeah, I like songs that get people involved.
Yeah, definitely. If you could give any advice to young musicians, what would that advice be?
Make your own luck. There are people. I mean, I don't think it was ever appropriate for bands to just wait around for the world to come and give them stuff on a plate, but particularly now with the way that things are with the internet and that kind of thing, there is just an endless list of things that you could do at any given time to promote your music and your band. And go out, find shows, play shows. If there aren't any shows, then book the show yourself. Make friends with bands from other towns, do tour stops with them. Make friends with local promoters, get their phone numbers, find out where they live and terrorise their children. Phone called him twice a day for about 2 months until eventually he went, fucking hell, you can play. And there are, I mean, I feel promoters are now going to come and hunt me down and go, what the fuck are you talking about? But yeah, I mean, it's just there's so many things that you can do, and you'll reach a point where you'll need a manager and a booking agent and a tour manager and all those kind of things, but those moments are far in the future. If you're starting out as a band, you can do all that shit yourself, and you should get out there and just make it happen.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, just some quick ones then. Gigging or festivals?
Gigs, but that's a tough one because I do like both.
Noel or Liam?
Noel.
Big venues or intimate gigs?
Both have their attractions. I mean, oh god, if you put a gun to my head, I'd probably say like small packed sweaty room, but I do like playing big shows as well, they're great.
Beer or spirits?
Spirits, if forced to choose.
Facebook or Twitter?
Facebook.
Coronation Street or EastEnders?
Neither. I don't have a television, I haven't done for many years.
iPlayer? Is that what you use?
Yeah, and DVDs basically.
One Direction or Justin Bieber?
Okay, I still don't really know who One Direction are, and I'm sort of fascinated by Justin Bieber because I think that I'm actually convinced it's some kind of performance art project, and do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's someone pranking the world. But I mean, I don't care.
And just the last thing, you've got a show booked in December at the Joiners.
Yes.
What is that in aid of?
The Joiners. The Joiners is having some financial trouble. I heard about this on the grapevine, and I thought to myself, I don't want to live in a Joiners-less world. It's, I went to my first gig there, played there a million times, love the place, and they need money or else they're going to go bust. So I'm playing for free, and all the money's going to the venue.
Oh, fair enough. Very exciting.
Well, it just, like I say, I mean, aside from all the philosophy angle on it of it, it's important to have small venues and underground scenes and blah blah blah. I just don't want the Joiners to close. I'd be really sad.
Hey yay, friends and Romans, countrymen. Hey yay, punks and skins and journeymen. Hey yay, my sisters and my brethren. The time is coming near.